Okay, guys, so have you been even through like a really rough time, things been going really hard, or maybe you've been through a specific trauma. Maybe you had childhood abuse. Maybe you were raised by a narcissist. Sorry, my kitty's like moving the phone. Or maybe uh, sexual abuse. Maybe you were raped as a child or an adult. Maybe poverty, homelessness, domestic violence, bad relationship, whatever the case may be. We all deal with some sort of trauma. Okay, some worse than others, but it really is all relative. We can't really judge what we've gone through, compare. If you get into the comparing game, you're either going to feel like, oh my Lord, my life is worse than everybody else's, or you're going to look at people like, oh, that's a big baby, whatever. It's all relative. We all handle things differently. The feelings, the bottom line are the same. Please, Boo, stop that. So if you're holding on to something, Buddha, please stop. That's my baby girl. She keeps moving it. You got to let it go because it will, if it hasn't already, it'll eventually create blocks, or it'll manifest physically in your body, or it'll keep you on the continuous cycle of, we all move in cycles anyway. Everything is circular. Everything. We all vibrate in circular motion. Okay? So don't be surprised if cycles happen in your life, but we can break the cycle and change it. It's still going to be circular, but we can change it. Okay? One of the things that happens, like I said, if we hold on though, is we either create the same patterns, so it keeps going round and round and round, or we keep meeting the same type of people, or we become physically or mentally ill. And it's hard to let go of things, especially traumatic things, and sometimes even when we think we've let it go, we haven't. Okay, so one thing to understand is that whatever happens in this realm, it begins in the etheric field. Okay, so it begins out here and then it gradually comes and it manifests in the physical plane, no matter what that is. It could even be an accident. Sometimes, have you ever met somebody that's accident prone? That could be their own energy creating that. Okay, if you've been in an abusive situation, sometimes you may have thought you healed it emotionally. You may have gone through therapy. You may have stuffed it. Whatever the case may be, your subconscious mind still has that memory of it. Okay, and that's another thing I want to talk about is how memories. There is a therapy where we can change. We don't change the past, but we can erase the memories, and I'll get into that in another video. It's going to be too long if I mention that in this one, but just real quickly, I mean, when we recall something, in the old school therapy sessions, when you talk and talk and talk. Well, some people think that's not such a good thing, and I happen to think it's not a good thing if you get stuck in it. Like a lot of even groups and stuff will continuously, for years, 30 years, they're talking the same story over and over. I think that's getting stuck in it. But initially, talking about it, bringing it up, it may not feel good, but it is a good thing. And when you do that, when you bring it up to the surface and you start talking about it, you've got a little window of like 3 to 4 hours where that memory can actually be modified. Okay, by writing it down, by shifting it a little bit. That's why, have you ever talked to somebody, you've shared the same event, you have different memories, and then after they tell you their part, you go, maybe it did happen that way, and you modify the memory, and so then it goes back into your subconscious mind 3 or 4 hours later, and now it's been modified. So the subconscious memory remembers it that way. And that can work both ways. I think it was back in the 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, where a lot of people were having repressed memories come to the surface. Well, some doctors were being unethical and actually modifying memories without people knowing it. Little by little, and lies would come to the surface. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, I have a couple quick little things that we can do to kind of let things go. But first, I want to talk about why why sometimes we hold on to it, and sometimes it's just so traumatic. It just creates such, the energy is so powerful and so intense that it just sticks. It just sticks and we can't let it go. And remember, now something that we may be able to shrug off as an adult, we may not be able to shrug off as a child. It's impactful. The emotions are that much greater because as a child, our feelings are who we are. That's how we judge who we are. And it's just a natural thing. As we get older, we start to understand that our feelings are not who we are. Our feelings are just our feelings. But children believe that their feelings are who they are. So say somebody says to a child, well, you look awful yucky today and, blah, blah, blah. You're always dirty, whatever. Somebody's really mean to a child, right? Well, that child's going to feel sad. So they believe, or they feel shame, or, whatever. So now they've taken that on, okay? Where an adult at maybe 40, 50 years old would be like, yeah, I just got out of the gym. Of course I look yucky, and blow it right off, right? So it could make an impact on a child where it wouldn't make an impact on an adult. Again, that's really neither here nor there. I'm talking about real trauma. You know why I do what I do? 2 reasons. I was born gifted. I used to call it the voices. I couldn't change who I was. I tried and tried and tried. After so long, years and years, I finally accepted it. And just, okay, it's who I am. It's whatever. I'm going to just accept it. And the second reason is I have gone through so much traumatic experiences in my life. And I know now, knowing what I know, that probably in the unhealthy state that I was probably helping to draw those things to myself because my soul wounds were being reaffirmed over and over and over again. That's why my causes are what they are. Because it has a real, I have a real soft spot for it. And my mother was mentally ill. I was sexually, physically, and emotionally abused as a child. I grew up in a really chaotic household. Separation of family, I don't have one. Then I was raped. As an adult, brutally raped and beaten. And I had health issues. I went through severe health issues where the prognosis didn't look good. The doctors thought I was going to die, but here I am. Divorce, adultery, domestic violence, betrayal at the core. My children were ripped away from me. So homelessness, poverty, so many different things. So it leads me to, these are my, homelessness, domestic violence, rape, and child sexual abuse, child emotional abuse. All of those things. That's why I'm always constantly doing something. I do the monthly little baggie of goodies for the homeless, the domestic violence centers. I work with rape victims, all of that. So anyway, that again, I got off topic. Oh, we're 8 minutes in and I've gotten off topic too many times. I might have to start over again. Anyhow, okay, I want to say 3 different blocks that really block us from manifesting the life we desire. One is we put labels on ourselves. Anything from, even if you had a quote-unquote pretty healthy, happy childhood, you may have had a label. You may have been the smart one. You may have been the jock in the family. You may have been the quiet one, whatever the case may be, the responsible one, the rowdy one, the black sheep, whatever. So we live under these labels, and if you're living under a label, that's going to block you because you try to be who that label says you are. Another thing is, like I've said in many, many videos, is we tend to label people as, I'm depressed, I'm schizophrenic, I'm blah, 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 whatever. Stop the labels. Don't label. We're all people. We all have issues. We all have good qualities. We all have, flaws. We are all fallen. Stop with the labels. The other thing is toxic shame. Now, I don't mean regular shame where You do something wrong, goes against your moral fiber, goes against society, whatever, and you feel ashamed of it. That's normal. You should. The devil condemns, the Holy Spirit convicts. So if you're feeling conviction, oh, I shouldn't have done this, that'll lead you to repentance, hopefully. That'll lead you to apologize, But toxic shame is being ashamed of who you are, not what you've done, but who you are, thinking that the negatives are who you are. Okay, so you can get caught up in that toxic shame, and that's not good. Okay, and another thing is, if you were abused, or if you've gone through some trauma, you could have like your survival, what you developed as survival tools, as your survival mechanisms, pop up over and over. And even if you know intellectually, okay, this is my survival mechanism, it's not good. I used to be called the Ice Princess because my survival mechanism shut me down. If I couldn't feel anything, then I couldn't feel the pain, right? And I wasn't even aware that that's what I was doing. I wasn't aware of it until my heart got shattered. Boom! It's as if somebody took a freaking hammer and just shattered it in little pieces. And then I felt that pain, but it also opened me up to feeling everyday happiness, everyday joy, every day. I didn't realize what I was missing until that happened. So those are three things that can block you. One thing that we can do to let go is forgive, live in forgiveness. Now, you may think I've already forgiven, but have you? One way to help you do that is pray, obviously, because you know what? If it wasn't the unforgivable, it wouldn't be so difficult to forgive, right? Say it, mean it, but ask for help, because some things we need that help because they are unforgivable, right? Declutter your house, declutter everything around you. Decluttering your house will actually help you declutter your mind, which will help you to let go. I don't know if you've ever done like tapping. If you haven't, I'll do a video on it. Tapping can help release a lot of things without us even realizing it's really happening. And you know what? Sometimes it's good to write a letter to the person that hurt you, never to send it. Sometimes it's good to write a letter to your past self. Sometimes it's good to write a letter to your soul. Those are just some things that you could do, some exercises. And then there's two more things I want to show you, and then I'll quickly be done. I'm trying to go through this really fast, but this kind of stuff is important. Write down what your blocks are. Write down what your issues are. Write down what you want to get rid of. I want to get rid of this depression. I want to get rid of this poverty. I want to get rid of this cycle. It's driving me crazy. I want to get rid of whatever, right? Write it all down. And I've done this ritual. It's just a ritual, okay? And why do rituals work? Because our minds believe that they'll work. Because we're taking an action. So even though the ritual itself probably has no meaning at all, but the act of going through the motions, we believe it will work, therefore it'll work. And you could burn that. You could burn, write it all down. Like I said before in other videos, whenever you record something, you put it out there. So either, put it into, whenever you want to release something, you've got to put it out there. You can't burn a recording, but some people hate to write. So you could record it, but that doesn't really work in this one. But you need to write it down. You need to share it somehow. It's good to do it with another person, because then you're actually recording it. I'm letting go of this, but you can do it alone too. And then get yourself some helium balloons. I know some people don't want to do that because of the environment, and I understand that. If you don't want to do it because of the environment, you could use like those lanterns. I don't think that they're as bad for the environment, or just don't use this one at all. You could burn it, and that way releasing it, destroying it, getting rid of it. That's one way. And then, that doesn't hurt the environment. Or you could write it down and tie it to the end of a balloon. And then you just say a little prayer. When I let this balloon go, I let go of this that's been blocking me. I let it go with forgiveness and love, and I ask that God transmute it and turn it into something powerfully and wonderfully good for somebody else. And then, take your deep breaths in and hold it and get yourself in a good high vibration and envision all of that yucky stuff just coming out of your body, coming out of your etheric field, and put it all in that piece of paper. Envision it going right into that piece of paper, and then let the balloon go. You can do that. And I've done that. I've done that with groups. I've done that individually. I've done that with other people. And there's a lot of healing to that process, And then once you let it go, you let it go. It's gone. Don't accept it back. Because you know what happens a lot of times? The enemy will try to bring it right back to you. Don't accept it back. Nope. I block myself with love, a loving shield, and I will not accept that back. Another thing that you can do, if something really has a grip on you, whether it be another person. I remember when I was married, I was a stepmom, and I'll tell you, one of the hardest jobs in the world is to be a step-parent. One of the next hardest jobs in the world is to be a single parent. But step-parenting was difficult because of, not because of the kids, but because of me, because of my own emotional maturity, spiritual maturity, because I was not in a place where I was, believe it or not, I used to be extremely mousy and subservient. I was very down on myself. Like I said, I grew up in abuse, and I was always the peacemaker. My label was peacemaker. My label was the one. My brother and sister thought I was the one that was not being abused, where if only they knew the darkness I was living in. And my father saw me as the smart one, the one that was going to accomplish things, the one that was going to change everything. I felt like a failure. I just felt, and then I married a man who was very arrogant, and to me, and he didn't do this, I did. To me, he was better than me. He grew up they had more money than I did, we ever did. He made good money. I just saw him as better than me. And because of that, I followed suit, and we didn't act like a married couple in every sense of the word. I mean, it was his money, I was just able to use it, Anyhow, that's neither here nor there either. But I was very mousy, and I allowed him to crush me down. And so that was one of the issues with the step parenting, is because I was doing everything with, I had all the responsibilities of parenting, not only my, our children, my son from a previous marriage and his children from a previous marriage. But with them, I had all the responsibilities and none of the rights. Between him and his former wife, the kid's mother, I had no rights at all, but both of them expected me to do everything. So instead of speaking up for myself and for the kids and saying, hey, this isn't the way it should be, I was very, very mousy, and I let it fester. And I remember talking with a therapist one time, and she said, you know what, you give her, and I would blame it all on, of course, his ex. At the time, he was God to me. I mean, I just adored him. And I did give her power over me. So whether it's a person, whether it's an event, whether it's a past trauma, whatever the case may be, if it has power over you, if it's holding you down, if it's taking up space in your brain, I can guarantee you, if you're thinking about somebody else and somebody that's hurt you, guaranteed they're not thinking about you. So you're letting them continue to hurt you. You got to forgive, first of all. But also, what she told me, and it worked, if you can do like a visualization or even write it down, whatever, draw a picture of it, the power I was giving her, like the therapist said, made her extremely big. She was squashing me. if her name was mentioned, if she entered the room, whatever the case may be, she was squashing me. She would become the room. She would become much bigger than me. So she was big, 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 right? And I was small, 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 small. So she's this big, big monster, and I'm this, or the kids, or whatever the case may be, small, and I'm this small thing. And what I did visually is gradually I reversed it. And I became not big, big, big like a monster, but where I should be, right here. And she became smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So make your problem smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And you know what? The fact of the matter is, this is a fact, not an opinion. God is much bigger than any problem you can throw. I don't care what it is. Satanic ritual abuse, I don't care. Whatever it is, God is bigger. Bigger, bigger, bigger. So you can picture it as you and God, too. And then what she had me do is take a mallet, and once she got small enough, stomp her out. It actually worked. It worked, because in that time that I was making her smaller and smaller, I was gaining my own self-esteem, my own self-worth, and that kind of thing. Those are just a couple little things. If you need my help with anything, definitely reach out. I'm available for personal private appointments. I do most of my work over the phone or video messaging, so we can do it that way. Join a group, whatever it is. Reach out. No man is an island, okay? So, yeah, join one of the groups. They're free. Or make an appointment. Those are not free, but we can definitely work together. I'm willing to work with anybody. Reach out, okay? All right, guys, I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you in the next video. Thanks for joining me.